Welcome to the Brothers Random Show. My name is Travis.
I'm Michael.
And we are two ordinary brothers discussing extraordinary ideas and some random shit. So the topics on the show range from theology, masculinity, stories, movies, philosophy, books, pop culture, and many other subjects. We often talk about the people we admire and the wisdom that they share. People such as Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, who we believe is the sage of our time. Michael, why are we here?
Today, we are talking about the fall of the blockbuster movie star.
And more specifically, because recently we watched the new Mission Impossible.
Dead Reckoning, Part 1.
Part 1. Yeah, what a title.
It's a mouthful. Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Part 1.
So when I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, man, this guy is so good. Tom Cruise is so good, and he's so good in all of his movies. And he's had a lot of rough patches, a lot of rough stuff go on it, with his career. The early 2000s weren't kind to him, and we'll probably get into that. But, I'm watching it and going, there isn't a lot of people that draw what he's drawing right now. And you could argue that the Mission Impossible franchise never does really great. They always, I think, eke out a little bit of a profit on them. Mm-hmm. But he's had some really great movies come out in the last, 10 years,
Yeah.
Speaking of one of them is Edge of Tomorrow, which is also known as Live, Die, Repeat. And if the audience members have not seen that movie, that is a excellent movie. Emily Blunt is a phenomenal in that movie.
Yeah.
And what I have to say is that he really knows how to, make good movies.
Yeah.
You'll say what you want to say about his personal life, but I mean, Oblivion is really good.
Oh yeah. Oblivion was good too.
Yeah. And he made those two back to back. And I don't know if Edge of Tomorrow and Oblivion did very well, but he made them back to back, and they're really well done. And
they oddly, like, I didn't see them in theaters or anything, and I don't even know if I heard about them. Maybe I was the back end cult following or something like that
they acquired,
that they started to build up, because I saw them both. I think I rented them, or they were on Amazon Prime or something like that, and just was kind of blown away at how good they were. And
they're really good.
Oblivion, I remember watching and then really loving it, and then a few years later watching it again and actually liking it more the second time I watched it.
Yeah.
That's a little rare. It's a little more rare, I feel like, to watch something like it and then like it more the second time you watch it. But yeah, I mean, when we're talking about, the blockbuster movie star, we grew up, 80s or early 90s, where, I mean, you had Arnold Schwarzenegger, you had Sylvester Stallone, you had Bruce Willis. Yeah, they these
Sandra Bullock, all these stars that drew in movies,
Yeah, and it was like I wasn't going to see what the last Hero, which was Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I wasn't going to see
The Last Action Hero. Yeah,
The Last Action Hero. I wasn't going to see The Last Action Hero. I was going to, if I was telling my friends, I was going to say, I'm going to go see the new Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah, that's
that was in our vocabulary, right? That's how we said it to people.
Yeah.
And that's not really, I mean,
that doesn't happen much anymore.
There might be a few. Before we started recording, you kind of mentioned Chris Pratt. He's Keanu Reeves.
It seems like IP intellectual properties are the stars now. That's what it feels like. And I don't know if it's better or worse, but the only reason Chris Pratt, I would say, he's charming and all that kind of stuff, but the only reason that he's done really well is he's chosen really great intellectual properties to be a part of. So Super Mario Brothers, he plays the voice of Mario. There's the Lego movie, he played the voice in that. There's the Guardians of the Galaxy, he's Peter Quill. I mean,
Yeah.
he just makes really smart choices about the movies he's making. I wouldn't necessarily say that I think he's created star power, but I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think that it's all his properties that he's a part of that are really the star of what makes him great. And Terminal List is excellent, probably his best thing he's ever done, but that's actually based on a novel. And so intellectual properties seem to be,
and it's a TV show, not a it's
movie.
a TV series.
TV series,
technically, but like,
so I think he
do
just
you
makes,
think when, but it's, and you're right. Keanu Reeves, I think, still kind of has that stardom, but at the same time, I don't say I'm going to go see the new Keanu Reeves movie. I go say I'm going to go see the John Wick movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And Keanu, he's done a few things here and there that kind of were lackluster.
Well, like before John Wick, he had a really hard time bringing box office. So there's like, what was it? Knock Knock. There's that. It's like a horror movie or something. And then there's also like 47 Ronin.
Yeah,
which was terrible. I mean, it was like, so they it seems like they have their franchises that they glom onto, and then they, but I can't
kind of
think
have
of a
to
lot
ride that out.
Yeah, they ride that out, but I can't think of a lot of other stars. In fact, like the 80s and 90s even had big female stars too, and now they're not, like well, Scarlett Johansson, she was rocking it for a while, and then this last Black Widow just kind of petered, like did nothing. And so it's like I don't know, I think you do nowadays you go for the property, not the movie star, other than Tom Cruise. I'm trying to think of any other
I mean, he
star that
might
does
kind
that.
of be
The
the
last movie star,
the last kind of draw a little bit, and it might just have something to do with the fact that he's been in, and I want to say a lot of these films he helped produce.
I think he's a producer on everything he does, like every single thing.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, when you have, and think about it, I mean, Oblivion, Edge of Tomorrow, Top Gun Maverick, you know, all the
well, and that brought in $1 billion worldwide before like last year,
like
so
during
I mean, so he still got something. I would argue that movie had a lot of good word of mouth. But so
because it started out okay, but it kind of, I think the word of mouth kind of went, and it didn't kind of go up.
It just kept going up and up and up. Yeah.
Which usually
it had long legs.
It's like maybe first, second weekend, and then it just down from there. I think that's usually how it works.
Yeah.
But
and our review of Mission Impossible, go check that out. We just did a review. That's one of our videos. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, so in 2005 he was promoting a movie, War of the Worlds, that was directed by Steven Spielberg, and in that he got some bad advice.
Had its problems, but wasn't horrible.
It was an okay movie. Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
And he got some bad advice and started opening up to people about his beliefs with Scientology and stuff like that, and it really backfired. And I don't know where I read it, but supposedly Steven Spielberg, that's why they haven't done a movie excuse me, since, because Steven Spielberg was like, he kind of tanked this movie. I think because this was at the time where he was jumping on the couch with Oprah. He was jumping on the couch with Oprah. He was talking about Katie Holmes, and he's in love and all this kind of stuff. This is recently after his divorce from Nicole Kidman, which was really public. I think he learned from that, because he had a hard time getting movies made after that happened. And I think he was like, people don't want to know me. They want to know the characters I play.
Yeah.
And I think this could be a really wise decision for any actor out there right now, to not get into your personal life, because I think that is what's killing the movie star. I think people are learning more about movie stars and going, well, I don't like that, so I'm not going to to promote it. And the same thing, I think it happened again when he did this video that was so fascinating of him jumping out of an airplane while he's thanking fans for going out to see Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
And
where was I? Oh yeah, thank you for supporting Top Gun Maverick. As always, thank you for allowing us to entertain you. It truly is the honor of a lifetime.
And he's shooting the Mission Impossible. So that was really smart, because in our day and age, there's been this thing where Lucasfilm is blaming the Star Wars fans for the last few things failing. They're basically like, oh, they're misogynist and they're racist. And it's like, no, you guys have made a bad product. And you guys now attack the fans for pointing that out. And Tom Cruise isn't doing that. He's going, thank you for coming to my movie. And he's doing it in one of the coolest ways possible. So so he's really smart. And he's said some things in the past, like when he was promoting Edge of Tomorrow, which I thought was one of his best films, probably my favorite of all of his films was Edge of Tomorrow. But in 2014, he was doing press for that, and he said like it was like going to war making this movie. And I know what he meant, but it was really taken out of context, and people were like, well,
you have no idea.
We actually have a war going on, and you got catering while you were on this movie. So another dumb thing that might have cost him money on that movie. Which I think that's another thing that he's learned from. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's learning these little things, and he realizes, okay, now that the fans have gone out to see this movie, it has made Top Gun Maverick one of the biggest box office hauls in history. I'm going to thank them for that.
Yeah.
And graciously and cool at the same time. So it's just a really smart move on his part. And I don't think, and I think that's lost. I think that's very, very lost on modern times.
Yeah. Back to kind of what you were saying about people getting into their personal lives and things like that. I want to say it might have been Critical Drinker that talked a little bit about the death of the movie star was because of social media, because we always had they always had kind of this mysterious aura around them, right? They were the big stars off in a far land that we would look at and admire, but then they're doing videos on Twitter
and TikTok
of them, or TikTok or Instagram or all these places where they'll do videos of them, lounging in bed. Oh, I just don't feel like getting up, or whatever all these videos that they're doing. And then are like singing during COVID. All these things. And it's,
imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try.
No hell below us,
above us only sky.
And it's just kind of like, it kind of kills that separation from us, which, I mean, it brings them down to a human level. Maybe that's a good thing. I mean, I guess that could be an argument. That's a good thing that they've been brought down to a human level. But I think that's why it's smart that, because I want to say Tom Cruise and Keanu Reeves, they're very standoffish when it comes to their personal lives.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I don't think they post things. I don't think they do a
this
bunch
is what's
of that
great.
stuff.
This is also what's great about Christian Bale, who I think is one of the best actors of our time. He doesn't do personal stuff. And the few times that he has, it's been really bad, like dumb, really dumb.
Yeah.
You know, like when he was doing press for Vice, you know, where he plays Dick Cheney, and he basically said that he was like the devil. He had conjured the devil or whatever. And it's like, okay, man, thanks. And that says a lot about you. But I mean, and Christian Bale was pretty good at it for a long time. He was always kind of like, people don't want to know anything personal about me, and I don't want them to know anything personal about me. I just want to make a movie so that they can kind of place me as this character and not as the actor playing this character.
Yeah.
And see, that's what Tom Cruise, I don't think, can do that anymore. I don't think he could actually do a really good act, like mold into a character, because we know too much about him. We know, and he's been working for 4 decades. You know, he started
So
out
crazy.
Yeah. He started out in the late 70s. Like, it's like he's been.
Was it late 70s? What wasn't it? It was that fantasy one.
A Legend.
Legend.
Remember that? Yeah.
He had crooked teeth in it.
Yeah, he got his teeth done for it.
But or
afterwards. Yeah,
after that.
He definitely and that is so crazy too, because it's a pretty, I think that's a Ridley Scott film.
What year was that? Are you looking it up?
I'm trying to look it up, but
yeah.
But he's like,
it's I think that it was still 80s. I don't think that was the 70s, right? But I don't think he really had anything before then, right? Or unless it was TV stuff.
No, he wasn't a star. Like Taps. Do you remember Taps?
Oh yeah.
He was the villain in Taps.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, this could be just a shift. Honestly, the shift away from blockbuster.
Risky Business was one of his first movies. That movie's hot too. Like Rebecca De Mornay in that is really. So yeah, Taps was one of his first movies. Yeah. Outsiders. Oh, The Outsiders. Remember The Outsiders?
I thought Legendary was like his first kind of his debut.
Legend no. He had 2 movies as a lead. So according to his IMDb, Endless Love is one of his first movies in 1981. That's okay. And I don't know. I've never seen it. I don't know.
Don't think I've ever heard of it. Yeah.
And then Taps. And then he's got The Outsiders, Risky Business, All the Right Moves, then Legend.
Really?
So he was already getting really huge roles.
Right.
Like in Outsiders, he's still got the crooked teeth in Outsiders.
Yeah.
And The Outsiders was a huge deal when it came out.
Yeah.
Like the book was a huge deal. But anyway, I mean, like the guy knows how to promote himself. The guy knows how to make a comeback. Because he had 2005 that War of the Worlds came out, and he pretty much almost lost his whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I was going to mention that it could very well be that the fall of the big blockbuster star might actually be right along line it may be right before the fall of just the movie theater. We may see the day when movie theaters really start to kind of fade out.
And the actors
I don't think that's a good thing.
The actors in the writer strike is going on right now. And
and
as bad as the movies, as bad as the movies have been recently, we still like going to movies. There's occasionally like a gem that we find, like Super Mario Brothers or the new Mission Impossible or Sound of Freedom. occasionally there's like this gem that they make and it becomes this big hit and big success, and we all want that. Everybody wants that. And for some reason, the IP, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that has basically dominated our cinemas for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Or I would say the last 15 years. So, but it's faltering. It's kind of breaking down, and and everybody can kind of feel that. And, part of that was COVID. And then they're going to have these strikes that we're going to like. So the last time there was a writer's strike was the second Transformers movie.
Oh, shoot.
Do you remember how terrible that movie was? It was really bad.
Yeah. So,
because they were in the middle of production when it happened, and they couldn't hire writers and they couldn't keep writers on, but they could still produce the movie.
Yeah.
That's why that movie is so bad.
And so in the next few years, we'll probably be seeing that. Like, we'll start seeing those movies hitting the theaters. Because a movie takes that time to for production and stuff. And it sounds like with the actors strike that it'll basically be like everything's going to stop right now. And it possibly might be that once things start back up, they'll start back up with both of them. So maybe we won't see the as big of a
impact because production stopped, maybe
writers, you can still make a crap movie without writers because it'll be crap because the writers aren't making it coherent. But if you don't have actors, you can't do nothing.
Yeah.
You can't even produce crap.
and one would argue that the last few movies that have come out aren't really the best show of a writer's strengths.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we just experienced, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dipshittery. So it's not like they were doing great leading up to this point anyway. But I would, we'll see how things pan out but this might be something that we revisit depending on how things go in the next couple of years with movies. Because you love movies. I love movies. We love talking about movies and discussing movies and TV shows and all that kind of stuff. But for some reason, we could be seeing, and they've been talking about the demise of the movies for a long time.
Movie theater. Once streaming became
a thing,
they thought that maybe maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the demise of movie theaters will never happen. Maybe people will always still want to go, like, get out of their house
to go watch
and go somewhere to go watch a movie. Because you can put together a real solid like movie theater, big old screen TV and sound system in and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then just watch it from the comfort of your home.
Yeah.
Forever and ever. And that, I think a lot of people were theorizing that would put an end to movie theaters. But we're still social beings. Like, we want to go out and see a movie. Maybe we'll see a resurgence of it. Maybe people will realize that, hey, maybe it's not so good for us that we sit around at home and are on our electronics and, watching a movie at home and in our pajamas.
Can you believe that in the 1930s, they used to dress up like in tuxes to go to movies?
Right.
Like with gloves, the ladies would have gloves and the men would be in tuxes, and they'd make a night of it.
Well, that's because it was basically the same as the opera. So like they would go to the symphony or an opera, and that's how you would dress
Yeah.
and go to that. And then they started coming out with these silent films that were like the new big thing, and it basically they just kind of did the same thing as like the operas.
The movie theater might go the way of the opera then. It'll be specialized.
Oh, specialized. Yeah.
And only in big cities.
Or like drive-in theaters kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where drive-in theaters, you can still find them. They're out there, right?
They're really rare.
They're really rare.
They only run in the summer, that kind of thing. So
yeah, but like movie theaters could be that thing. It might just become this kind of rare rare thing where you have to I don't know. I tell you what though, I wouldn't be investing into a movie theater right now.
No, there was a time where I almost bought a movie theater, and it was right before COVID.
Oh,
so
geez.
I would have lost my shirt.
Yep, that would have been.
I was about to
bad.
buy a movie theater, so I really wanted to do that. So.
Yeah, and talking about COVID, like that, COVID may have been one of the things that would help. Now, we talked that maybe COVID would have been the thing to end the movie theaters and big blockbuster movies and stuff like that. But then after COVID, Top Gun Maverick comes out and it makes a lot. So, there's still kind of that.
But Hollywood's kind of still suffering from COVID after effects. So with a strike that's going to cause more problems,
right?
I don't know if they're going to get out of this. This could spiral out of control. But who knows?
Yeah, maybe
I think people will for a long time will always want to go to the movie. But I mean, it's been a staple in the United States for the damn near 100 years.
Yeah. And I don't
know anybody that goes to opera. I don't know anybody that goes to the opera, so.
Right. And I love going out to the theater, and sometimes it's always kind of fun to be in a lively crowd, right? And kind of to be there with other people and sway with the movie, the ebbs and flows of the emotions, the action, the
laugh at the right moments,
or scares, right?
Yeah. Well, and with Sound of Freedom, which we recently did a review on, go check that out. There was a bunch of people crying in the movie.
Yeah, theater. You could hear the sniffles and the 100%.
The guy next to me was bawling like I was.
Yeah.
We kind of sheepishly looked at each other and kind of went,
right. Yeah. So it's, and there's something to be said about like joining your community and being there with people. And it's happened a time or two where maybe I bumped into, a client or bumped into a neighbor or something like that. And I always think that's, fun to see people, recognize faces or meet up with friends, meet up with old friends,
sense of community,
family.
Kind of
Yeah. So maybe it never goes away.
Yeah.
Right. But maybe it never goes away. I don't know.
It's hard to think that this crop of people, of stars, after they leave the movie theater,
after they're out. Yeah.
Because I don't see Harrison Ford doing another movie. I mean, maybe small movies, but I don't see him doing much else.
Yeah.
And then he's not getting hired after the disastrous of the last Indiana Jones. I mean, not to do big stuff. He's not going to be in a big blockbuster again. If I had to guess.
Maybe. Yeah.
He's
possibly.
80. He's 80 and he looks good for 80. But I don't think
but he's still really old.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's old.
He might need to turn it in. And Tom Cruise isn't a spring chicken anymore. He's 61.
61.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we might start seeing these guys. I mean, Chris Pratt isn't old.
Chris Hemsworth
Chris
just had
Hemsworth.
Extraction. Have you seen Extraction 2?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it yet?
Watch it.
Oh,
No.
I thought it was fun. It was good. It was.
So
yeah.
he's kind of got his own franchise, like a Netflix franchise. I mean,
there, the Extraction 2 has a prison break scene where there's a prison brawl going on, and it's so crazy.
It's good.
It's insane. Yeah, I love it.
I gotta watch it. I can't. Maybe I'll watch that tonight. but I'm really struggling to think of somebody that has staying power outside of maybe Chris Pratt, because he's had so many successes lately.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got 2
that's coming up. That's gonna replace the old.
You know, it's kind of like the way of the franchise as well, because the franchises are falling aside too. You know, the like, how many movies of John Wick can they make? How many movies of Indiana Jones can they make? How many movies of Star Wars can they make? Like those things I think are starting to falter as well, along with the movie stars. So if nobody's building new, like, I guess John Wick is a fairly new franchise that's done really well, but nobody's building anything new that I can. Outside of that, I can't think of hardly. Well, we just mentioned Extraction, so maybe I mean there's that, but you know,
Extraction might be that might be the change that we're talking about, because it came right out on Netflix. So Netflix made and came right out on their platform.
So we could be.
And I thought it was pretty good. Like,
we could be looking at a new renaissance of movies, hopefully. Where it's not.
Are you meaning like straight to streaming?
Well, streaming, but like new franchises, like new. Like I'm having. Like I can think of John Wick and I can think of Extraction, but I'm like, what else?
There's Fast and the Furious that seems to keep going.
That's almost 20 years old too.
And they say that the next one, I think, is supposed to be the last.
Yeah,
I think that's supposed to be it.
Well, and I don't know, but like the Marvel Cinematic Universe isn't doing so well, and so they're going to start cutting back on those as well. I bet.
I think so. We might be going into with the success of like Sonic and
and Super
Mario. We might start seeing
video game
remake
adaptations.
of video game. Yeah, the era of video game adaptations.
And then and then they'll be like the cinematic universe, or the Marvel cinema, where they all kind of cross pollinate and stuff like that, and then they all team up and have the Avengers.
Possibly. I don't know how. I'm not exactly sure how the Legend of Zelda
works in
cross pollinates with Mario,
but yeah,
not quite sure how that works, but
people,
if they make a Link, if they make a story of Link,
Thor.
I don't know how they're going to do that without, doing the unspeakable thing that can never be done, which is, saving a damsel in distress, which is the story of Link,
Legend of Zelda,
and the Legend of Zelda.
Anyway,
good luck. But hey, you know what? If you make it, I'm in for it. I'll go see it. So,
well, there's no way they're not, with the success of Super Mario Brothers. There's no way they're not making one. They're gonna.
I think it's gonna come. I don't know how but that's what I say. I know how that is the story. So I don't know how that's gonna.
I'm not sure how well the last Transformers did. I left Transformers.
I heard that it did not do good at all.
Well, the last Transformers that I saw was number 2, and I stopped watching it after that.
I've seen one here and there or something. Like, I think I saw Bumblebee
and Oh yeah, Bumblebee. I guess I did see that. That was actually pretty good. But what I'm trying to say is, like, that as another franchise that feels like it's kind of,
it might be petering out.
But
we talked about this a little bit. We have talked about this in the past, but we might start seeing, because the big blockbuster movies are getting so outrageously expensive, like 250 million plus, and and they have to make so much money in order to get their return on their investment. It might be something where we start seeing kind of that lower indie film, cheaper movie start to make a comeback. Especially with like the Sound of Freedom success.
That would be great if we start getting a little bit more. Like the 90s were a good year for dramas, or a good decade for dramas, I guess you could say. Like there were a lot of good, like Gladiator came out in 2000.
I wonder,
Braveheart came out in
95,
I
think.
Then there was like Rob Roy, and there was just a ton of like epic, beautiful epic dramas, and maybe that comes back. Who knows? Napoleon. Have you seen?
And then there was Legend of the Fall. But
Legend of the Fall. Yeah. Have you seen the trailer for Napoleon?
That looks good. I kind of excited for that. Yeah. So that looks interesting.
Who knows? I mean, maybe we go back into that era. Maybe there's all these cycles, right? And the Critical Drinkers talked about that in the past with Westerns. The Western will have a resurgence every once in a while.
Yeah. And it had kind of a Renaissance era. And then as it petered out, it became like a meme. Just like a self-referential, which is kind of what's happened with the comic book movie now too. So maybe we're seeing the end of the comic book era, and that'll be something that'll kind of take its place. Maybe. I think that with the comic books, it's tough. It's not going to go out easy. I think
right away.
They've made so much money with it.
Yeah.
That it's they're trying so hard to keep it going.
Yeah.
I just when we went and saw Mission Impossible, they had another trailer for some superhero that I have never in my life ever heard of. Like,
oh, is this Blue Beetle?
The bug? The Blue Beetle. Is that it? Blue Beetle?
Yeah. That one's gonna fail and fail hard.
Ever. and they're making a movie of it. And I was just like, wow, okay. All right, sure, whatever.
They're scraping the bottom of the barrel, man. I've never heard of him either. Like I don't think I've heard of him. I have never read a comic book of him. I've never seen a cartoon of him. I think I've seen
reaching.
Pictures.
Yeah,
just reaching. And that is going to fail hard. I think that one's going to bomb like massively. It's got no star.
I don't know. I mean, it looked kind of funny. Like I kind of laughed. I chuckled in the trailer.
It's got like George Lopez in it, so maybe it'll be really funny.
I don't know. I'm just but I'm just saying that they're still trying. They're still trying to keep that going. MCU going, right? Like I really think they should cut their losses and move on to something else. Seriously.
Any final thoughts on that?
No, I think that's it. Yeah. All right. For you got any final thoughts then?
Just when I see like the Tom Cruise doing Tom Cruise stuff, it just makes me kind of like nostalgic for another time when we had, because Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone used to bring out a movie every couple of years, and they were awesome. They were fun to go to, but I mean, I haven't seen a good movie from Arnold Schwarzenegger in a long time. Yeah. I think it's an era that's shifting again, and maybe we'll get some good movie stars out of it. Who knows?
We'll see.
What are our socials there, brother?
Follow us on Twitter, at Brothers V Random, and find us on Rumble, Instagram at the Brothers Random. If you wanted to email us, the Brothers Random V at Gmail.
Look us up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Look for the Sword and the Skull. Thanks for that, brother. We will see you next time. Keep reading, keep listening, keep watching, learn more. Talk to you later.
See ya.